Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. There it is. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. It is a joy to be here with you.
We are a welcoming congregation, and we appreciate your unique background, beliefs, lifestyle, quirky habits, dietary preferences, and everything else that makes you, you.
We're delighted to have the old-timers, the newcomers, the people coming in late, the babies learning how to use their lungs, and a special welcome to those of you live streaming with us or watching us in the future.
In our abundance of unique ways of being in the world, here in this sacred space, we join together to create a nourishing, liberal, religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in the wider world. Or in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice.
A couple announcements. First, if you are between the ages of 18 and 35, consider our Young Adult OWL program. It's a comprehensive, holistic, values-based, justice-oriented, and downright fun sexuality education curriculum. It will be offered this summer in a series of weekend retreats at no charge. And if you or a friend are interested, talk to Aria or Caitlin, or find the registration link in the UUCS Weekly.
This morning is Isabel's last time in our pulpit as an intern minister. We are celebrating her year with us after this service with cake and fruit and veggies. Plus, you'll have a chance to hear a few stories about Isabel, and if you'd like, to tell us some as well. Hope you can join us for a fun celebration.
This has been a wonderful congregation to serve. Pretty much the only negative feedback I've gotten is that you can't hear me from the pulpit. So I was hoping for something a little more juicy, but I'm going to work with that feedback. So as our final tech tidbit, I want to tell you about our fabulous headsets.
But Isabel, how does it work?
Well, Susan, you put it on.
Okay.
You turn it on.
Turn.
And voila.
Whoa.
Everything going into the mics is piped into your ears.
Directly.
We also have a T-coil, which you can hook up to some hearing aids. If you'd like to try out a headset, we will lend you one. Dusty has a basket here. If there aren't enough to go around, we've got this one too. Anybody want one? Yes, got some takers. Excellent.
Anybody else?
I would really love for you to be able to hear me. So if you're borrowing a headset, you can return it to the table. There's a basket in the back at the end of the service, and you can pick one up next Sunday morning.
Isabel, I don't think so.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Don't come here next Sunday. Instead, come to the convention center, where we will be gathering with 3,000 other Unitarian Universalists for General Assembly. It is free and open to the public at 10 a.m.
And if you're not registered for GA, don't worry. Everyone is welcome. And also, join us Thursday night, this coming Thursday, at the Service of the Living Tradition. which is also free and open to the public with no need to register. We'll be honoring our own Tracy Stringberry there, who will be receiving full fellowship as a UU minister at that service. 7 p.m. Thursday night.
Okay, here I'll clarify. So, General Assembly is happening at the Convention Center. Yes. And on Thursday night, we have the Service of the Living Tradition there at the Convention Center at 7 p.m., open to the public, and 10 a.m. Sunday morning. We'll all be worshiping together. So who's planning to go to GA? All right, hold your hands up high and look around. These are the people you can carpool with. So find them today and arrange to drive together. Now, I think we probably have some folks in the congregation who are visiting us for GA from other places. Anybody here for that? Yay! Thank you. We're glad you're here. So because of GA, we have the Reverend Wendy Fish here visiting in the house. She was the first intern minister many years ago here at UU Spokane. And since then, she has served 2 congregations, one in San Diego and the other in Columbus, Ohio. And the last chapter of her active ministry was in several hospitals in the Portland area. So welcome, Wendy, and please, everybody, say hello to her.
Yes, and for those of us who were here then, welcome back. Now, please take a moment, turn to your neighbors, say good morning, and take some time to meet some of the new folks who are here. Sorry, I was getting rid of that a little early. Yeah.
I think we could go on for many, many more minutes. Thank you for all your hospitality and generosity of presence and spirit. There will be more time for conversation, coffee, tea, cake, fruit after the service. Now we transition from arriving here to being here with the lighting of our chalice. This symbol of Unitarian Universalism represents our unity and solidarity, our openness and inclusion, our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it has been found.
Today is a time of transitions that we are marking. Today is the last time that our beloved Isabel will preach to us in her role of intern minister. This Friday is summer solstice, and the days will start getting shorter even as the heat of summer is upon us. This week will hold both the beginning and the ending of our UU General Assembly with, imagine this, 3,000 UUs from all over the continent coming to Spokane to gather in community. And this coming Sunday will be the official end of Isabel's intern ministry, when we are all invited to a worship service downtown with those 3,000 UUs. Transitions. They come into our lives, changing them, disrupting them, transforming them. We welcome transitions. Sometimes we dread them, but they are ever and always present with us. And not just in our lives, but the spinning universe is ever changing, evolving, expanding, with stars being born and stars dying in their own times. Our beautiful planet itself has gone through thousands of transitions over geologic time, becoming a welcoming home for millions of species, including our own. Now, in our lifetimes, the Earth is facing a terrible transition. Climate crisis, the seminal issue of our time, and we are called to action. We mourn transitions. We celebrate transitions. We are called to action by transitions. Let us open our hearts to each other and to all the transitions which are upon us.
In our congregation, we mark the solstices and equinoxes when they come by with the ritual of changing our banner to your right. You will see that it has been changed to the summer banner. And we also sing, chant for the seasons, which we will do right now. Please rise and embody your spirit to sing number 73, Chant for the Seasons, Summer Verse. Burn
would like to invite forward our young and our young at heart for a very special time for all ages, crafted for us by Isabel. So come on forward if you would like to participate. And as you're coming up, you can find a place to sit on the rug, on the cloth, actually. Scoot in a little bit, Brooklyn. You're going to want to sit actually on the material. Oh, perfect, Nathan. See if you can all fit on this blue sheet, on these blue and brown sheets.
And you can sit on the steps, too.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. As many stories do, we begin with once upon a time. There was a young person who wanted to be a minister. She packed up all her bags and boxes and baskets and went to the school for ministers. At school, she received new gifts of knowledge about history, theory, theology, polity, ritual craft, pastoral care, countering oppression, and many other things. And she learned that some of the things she already had would be very, very useful to her life as a minister. And she learned that some of the things she was carrying around were not so useful. And they were really heavy, so she decided to let them go. Meanwhile, here in Spokane, a group of church members decided they would really like to share their wisdom and become a teaching congregation for future ministers. And so it happened that just as the mini minister, who was not really all that young anymore, was ready to bring her learning to a community, our community was looking for a mini minister. And that is when she found us, and we found her. Of course, this whole time, we had our own stories. And our own story. And so when the mini minister arrived, she listened. And listened. And listened. And spoke a little. And sung a little. And danced as much as she could with as many of us as she could. Until we discovered that we had a shared story. And from inside this story, we discovered that we had gifts for the minister, mini minister. We could listen to her and help her become a preacher. We could give her lots of room to experiment. We could encourage her to figure out her own learning goals. And so we did, and she was grateful. We could welcome her openly to all of our team meetings. We could mentor her. We could encourage her to fail and make mistakes and love her through it. And so we did, and she was grateful. We could call her doctor because she had a PhD but didn't know how to wear it yet, and celebrate her Master of Divinity. And so we did, and she was grateful. And from the abundance of her gratitude, the mini minister realized that she had gifts for us. She could share her perspective and help us see things differently. And so she did, and we were grateful. She could remind us of how to bring our UU values into all that we do. She could share her joy about discovering who she is as a person and a minister, and in doing so, show us better who we are.
Wow.
And so she did, and we were grateful. She could simply talk with us, giving the gift of her presence and co-creating deep conversation and connection. And so she did, and we were grateful. And she could create a roadmap for future interns so they can enjoy their time here as much as she has, and know a little bit about what they're getting themselves into. And so she did, and we were grateful. And finally, our mini minister, who was actually pretty much just a minister at this point, realized that she could give us a good bye. And we realized that we could give her a good bye. And so we did, and we were grateful. I would like to invite you over here now to join me in lighting our children's chalice.
We light this second chalice so that as our children and youth go to their chapels, they carry the light of our flame with them. May this chalice illuminate, inspire, and warm you as it does us.
Everywhere
This community of our church is renewed and refreshed and reinvigorated by all the gifts we give to each other and to this community. Our skills, our time, our commitment, our love, our financial resources, our presence, the fun we have here, the caring with which we respond to each other, and so much more. This morning we gratefully give and receive these gifts.
Each time we gather as a congregation, there are those who are with us in our minds and hearts, and who we want to wrap in our love and care. This morning, we light a candle for Jean and Gordon Larson, who are celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary. And we light a candle for Dusty Hall, who is celebrating a big birthday today. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts this morning. You're welcome to say their names aloud if you'd like. Those named aloud, those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. The meditation today will be several of my interpretations of Al-Fatiha, the foundational chapter of the Quran, followed by a moment of silence. The Fatiha is a prayer said many times a day by Muslims. Its spiritual potency is in the shape and texture of the Arabic. Translations of the Fatiha and other parts of the Quran are simply translations, not sacred text. For those of us who do not speak Arabic, this might feel like a barrier, but I've actually come to understand it as an invitation. If the truth of these words is embedded in the sound and sensation of intoning and listening to them, then the meaning I receive when I hold them in my body is valid. So today, first we will have Levi sing Al-Fatiha, and then Wendy will read 2 of my English interpretations. While Levi is singing, and then as Wendy is reading, Susan and I will be showing you a 3rd interpretation, a body prayer. The melody, the English interpretations, and the body prayer all come from my practice with the Fatiha over several years, guided by my teacher at Star King, Sheikh Yasir Shadli. After the body prayer, Levi will ring the bell for a moment of silence. So like I said, I'm honored today to have Reverend Wendy Fish read my words. As you heard earlier, Wendy was the first intern minister here at UUCS 25 years ago. We met serendipitously this fall and are still getting to know each other. But I know that her presence has been here all along, embedded in the community, as will be the presence of each of us here today, 25 years from now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Sirata ladzina an'amta alayhim Ghayril maghdubi alayhim Waladhdallin. Amin.
In the name of the one of many names, whose compassion and mercy are larger than anything I can imagine, I surrender to your unending softness, which unites every particle of the universe. Source of life, I accept from you whatever you offer and strive to bear any hardship that serves your creation. But I long for guidance and clarity. May I join hands with those whose hearts draw nearer and nearer to you. And may I let go of my attachment to those who lead me astray, even as I cultivate compassion for people and parts of myself who have gone astray. Amen. My heart and my gut call out to the many sources of this moment with thanks. For the universe is animated by compassion and mercy in relation to my human imperfections. And inspires me to be compassionate and merciful to those beings and parts of myself over which I have power. O Spirit of all, whose name I hope one day to know that I know, you alone do I honor through my work in the world, and to you alone do I appeal for clarity. Please help me discern the path that most gently serves me, and through me, others. And please help me forego pain, O lover of life and merciful source of death. Help me move on with grace when the time comes. Amen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanirrahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Yaka na'budu wa yaka nasta'in. Edina Siratal Mustaqim. Siratal Ladzina An'amta Aleihim. Ghairil Maghdubi Aleihim Waladallin.
Thank you for joining that meditation with me. I want to tell you on this Father's Day a little bit about my own father. He would not have been comfortable with that meditation. He might have left the building, or he might have smelled that it was coming and not come in the building in the first place. Now, since it's my worship service, he might have stuck it out. His boundless adoration of his daughter might have outweighed his bottomless disgust for all things vaguely spiritual. But that's kind of a toss-up. Unfortunately, he's been gone for the past 13 years, so he's missed the opportunity to argue with me as I've discerned my call to ministry. He was gone before I'd even started my first career as an economist. And incidentally, he hated economists too. When I was enjoying my economics classes in college, he liked to tell a story, which he told many times, about his one required economics class and how it was so boring that he fell asleep and literally fell out of his chair. Sometimes the setting for the story was the final exam, and sometimes he didn't wake up until the instructor stood over him wagging a finger. The point was clearly not historical accuracy. Although he was a historian, but also a storyteller. Perhaps one way I could explain my choices in young adulthood after he died is that I was simply trying to get a rise out of his spirit. He left life too soon without a decent goodbye, and we had unfinished business. I've been provoking him to come back and duke it out with me. And I'll tell you, in a vague, impossible to describe sort of way, I think my not-so-conscious strategy worked. In my constant remembering of him and longing for his advice and pushback, I've gradually felt his spirit come to a sense of peace, and mine as well. I can even imagine him grudgingly raising his arms over his head and reaching his hands out to hold yours, and between eye rolls, feeling little twinges of what I've learned to feel through prayer. Gratitude for this life and this body, and a measured trust in forces outside my control. It feels right to share this with you today, on Father's Day, on my last day serving as your intern minister. It is also my last day as a young adult, according to the UUA's definition, since tomorrow is my 36th birthday. Thank you. It is the end of an era for me, and I have been profoundly blessed to be accompanied through this end by you. I guess I could say that you fathered me well. And let me clarify, because I know that's a strange thing to say. By fathering, I mean something broader than the personal relationships we might have with the men who raised us. Obviously, it has taken a lot of time and gentle work for me to reconcile with my father, the one who gave me this nose, and his memory. Perhaps other people in the room have discovered that there's no substitute for the parenting we wish we'd had and know we deserved. But there's also no parenting that can meet all our needs. And the imperfect people who gave us life and helped us begin to juggle it, well, it's their job to be inadequate so that we can go out and do something new. Granted, there are more and less graceful ways to parent, and Father's Day is a moment to celebrate the grace, the humor, joy, devotion, encouragement, etc., that dads bring into our world. Their love and our love for them. But it must also be said that we live in a society wounded by fathers. I don't specifically mean the fathers in this room, bless you. I mean our forefathers, those with the power to rule and oppress. In a word, I mean patriarchy. Girls of my generation were still told in countless quiet ways that we wouldn't or shouldn't inherit the keys of the kingdom. We came of age with young men strung along with the promise that they would have power, but only if they used it in not so life-giving ways. As boys and girls, we were told that our gender is what we are, and those of us who do not identify with the sex we were assigned at birth, and all the weird social constructions associated with it, well, they are vilified for disrupting a system which has itself disrupted so much human potential. That's just my short list. I'm sure together we could go on critiquing patriarchy for hours. My point is that being seen as a leader in an institution that values the ways I'm not living up to patriarchal ideals is healing. Serving your children coming of age as teenagers and your youth bridging into young adulthood and serving the adults who are here to welcome them in and equip them to inherit the keys of our community, that's healing. Learning together how to dance with the changes of life, with birth, goodbyes, dying, that's healing. We are dismantling patriarchy, one empowering conversation, one hug at a time. And that's the kind of fathering the world needs. It's the kind of fathering I need. So happy Father's Day, church. Thank you for showing up for this work. For me personally, this confluence of aging up, thinking of dads, and saying goodbye has another dimension. Perhaps you've heard, as I've been taught, that loss is a spiral. One goodbye curves around and brings us up alongside all the previous goodbyes. I'm probably not the only one here who has had a lousy bye. A good bye is precious. It shakes that grief spiral into some resolution and closure. We have an opportunity today to say goodbye and to say it well and to say it deep. But no pressure. It is a gift you are giving me, and I am receiving just because you're sitting here. In a few minutes, we'll have a ritual to mark our goodbye. But what does this end really mean? I've written about it in the Sun, but just in case you're a bit behind in your reading, I want to let you know that I'm moving to Seattle. There, I'll be spiraling back to an organization called Plymouth Healing Communities, where 12 years ago, I lived as a companion alongside people coming out of mental health hospitalizations. This time around, I will be housemate to 6 people in long-term recovery from mental health crises, and a chaplain to the staff at my old house. My new house, which is called Hoffman House, is permanent housing for my housemates, which means they can live there as long as it's healing and as long as they maintain relationships with their outpatient therapy program. One of my first tasks is to organize a celebration for somebody who's lived there for 10 years. But for me, it will be a temporary home. I have committed to a year of service, and during that year, I will be taking my next step with the UUA toward ordination. I plan to find a congregation to serve when I leave Hoffman House. I understand myself as midstream in a life of temporary homes. I've long held the belief that nothing is permanent, even, especially, the temporary home of this body, at least as long as we're still biologically mortal. It's a practice to take this present moment, the present place, seriously, even while accepting that it's not mine forever. And it's getting more interesting as I get older. Not necessarily easier, but more joyous, even as my capacity for grief grows. What makes this transition different is that I'll be out of touch with you for a year. It's a funny sort of guideline we follow as ministers, this interval of silence after such deep and close connection. I've been trying to prepare for it all year and not sure how. But then as the service approached, I thought about my dad, and I thought about the years of silence between us that I didn't choose. And I thought about the inevitability of silence someday in all human relationships. And I tell you, I found joy in the impending goodbye. I found joy in knowing that you and I will go on living and changing despite our distance. I have grown here. I have so many new capacities to minister to and serve the people in my life because you were willing to let me practice here. By stepping out of my life, you give me the gift of experiencing my capacities as part of my vocation, distinct from my relationships with you, as essential as they have been. So now I'm going to say thank you. There's so much in the thank you. There's so much to be grateful for, so much I want to express, so much I've tried to say in crafting this worship service. I ask you to hear my thank you, and let there be silence, and let it tell you what needs to be said and needs to be heard. Thank you.
The life of our religious community is fluid, ever-changing with new lives, new visions, new possibilities, and new ministries. 10 months ago, we welcomed our ministerial intern, Isabel. As a teaching congregation, we've committed ourselves as a community to fostering her formation and learning. As a person with unique talents and considerable abilities well suited for the ministry, we've been blessed by her presence and service among us. Today we say farewell formally to Isabel as she successfully completes her internship with us.
Our time with Isabel in this capacity has been relatively short but rich. We acknowledge today that as Isabel's ministry has grown in Spokane, so too have we been changed by her. Isabel, on behalf of the youth of UUCS in particular, with whom you spent a great deal of time, I would like to say thank you for your devotion to the development of Unitarian Universalist identity. Today we say farewell with brave hearts, knowing that from every ending in our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning.
I offer my deep thanks to the members and friends of this church for welcoming me into the community and for supporting my learning and my service this year. Thank you for your love, your support, and your kindness. I was challenged and stretched. I grew in ways I will continue to discover in the days, weeks, and years to come. You gifted me with your trust, and I thank you for your acceptance of my ministry among you. I leave here affirmed in my call to ministry, with many tools for doing the work that lies ahead of me. In helping to form me and my ministry, you will always be a part of me and my work in the world.
Isabel, we are grateful that you came to learn the practice of ministry among us, growing into the compassionate and visionary minister we know you to be. Even though you'll no longer be with us, your influence will not leave us. We look forward with great excitement to your eventual ordination and professional ministry.
Members of our intern team, Susan, Aaron, Dusty, Steve, Maggie, and Sarah, thank you so much for mentoring Isabel into ministry. Will you affirm on behalf of this congregation that the work you did with her will serve her well in her ministries to come?
We do.
Thank you. Do you, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, now release Isabel from her role as our intern minister?
We do.
Do you, Isabel, release the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane community from turning to you for ministry and guidance?
I do.
May it be so. Before we sing Shalom, let's all join hands and send Isabel off with the responsive reading on the screen.
Source of life and love, we have been moved by Isabel's presence and by her work. We are grateful for the ways we have been changed together with her.
We bless Isabel in her journey towards being a fully fellowshipped and ordained minister.
Bless Isabel in continuing to see people of all ages as part of our greater whole.
We trust that her ministry in the future, whatever it is, will be done well, with great love and compassion.
And a heart open to learning from all that she does.
Isabel, go with our blessings and our love.
Said to hold. You said to hold hands, and I put everything down and lost my place. Isabel, surrounded by our love and our hopes for your future in this faith we share, you are hereby released from your internship. Blessed be and be blessed. Amen.
Amen. And now if you will face the screen to sing our final hymn of the morning, Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads, number 324.
Our closing words are from the medieval mystic Julian of Norwich, the first woman to write a book in the English language. All shall be well. All shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. For there is a love that holds us and will never let us go. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.
Shalom.